Hey everyone, Treygonite here, and back with part 2 of the 3-part series for giving my opinion on all the exotic armor pieces in Destiny. So we just got done doing the Warlock, now we're going to go on and do the Hunter. Now I just got on my Hunter, I actually made a new one, it's only like a level 29, and I only probably have about half the exotics unlocked, so I didn't want to go searching for the other half and then have half on screen and then describing the other half off screen. So I'm just going to do a window capture here of the Bungie.net page for the Hunter. Oops. Alright, so go ahead and click on this. Now we got the Hunter's exotics up here, guys. So we're just going to go through it, and we'll go from top to bottom, starting with the chest pieces. Okay, so we got the ATS/8 Tarantella. It's for the Arc Blade subclass. It's going to be, or the Blade Dancer subclass, I mean. It's very effective with Arc Blade as reduced arc damage from minions of the darkness, and your arc grenades and melee, your arc grenades and arc blade recharge faster. Sorry if I stutter a little bit, guys, on the Hunter, as I've only ran Night Stalker when running a Hunter. So I've never ran Blade, and I've ran very little of Golden Gun, very little Gunslinger. So anyways, guys, Tarantella, I've heard Rue talk about it before. Let's see. It does reduce arc damage from minions of the darkness, as well as the arc grenades and arc blade recharge faster. So it's basically just a useful exotic for the fact that you can get arc blade back faster, as well as your arc grenades. Moving on, guys. Crest of the Alpalupi is good for all 3 subclasses throughout the Hunter race, and the Titan, spoiler alert, also has one as well. It's just the same as the Light Beyond Nemesis from the Warlock video I discussed. It's just faster as armor, so it's gonna enable you to be revived and revive others faster, as well as supers generate an extra orb. So it's pretty useful, and a lot of people run it when it comes time for trials or elimination. Next and last but not least is the Lucky Raspberry. Arc Bolt grenades chain further and respawn with a full grenade energy. So it's kind of similar to the Void Fang Vestments in the Warlock video I discussed, where you spawn with a full grenade. So you're going to respawn with a full grenade, and the Arc Bolt grenade is solid, but it's not the top tier grenade in the class. I believe skip grenades are, as they will track you faster than you're able to run unless you're Titan you can skate. But Arc Bolt grenades are still effective, and this will enable them to chain further. Lucky Raspberry is not probably my preferable chest piece, though, as Tarantella will help you get your blade back faster, and Crest is always useful for fast reses. But if you are not running that, considering this is used for a Blade Dancer and that's used for a Blade Dancer, I would prefer Tarantella. So anyways, guys, okay, that's it for the exotic chest pieces. Moving on to the gauntlets, we got 5 of them. First is the Don't Touch Me gauntlets. Taking damage from a melee attack makes you briefly invisible. This is very, very useful in PvE, where it's not very useful at all in PvP. PvP, people aren't going to fall for that kind of stuff. First of all, they're going to have a lock on. If they melee you once, they're probably going to go right up for another melee. 2 melee charges kill you in Destiny 1. And it's one of those things where if somebody melees you once, they're most likely going to go for a second melee, and being invisible is probably not going to stop them from having that lock on for their second melee. However, in PvE, you'll have an enemy just walk up to you, hit you, which will count as a melee. You'll turn invisible, and then they'll just instantly just be like, "Where'd he go?" Because PvE obviously is easier than PvP in that aspect. So moving on, I don't believe that that's super useful, and honestly, there's a lot more you're going to see down the list that's much more effective in PvE. So I would just kind of say, scratch this. Moving on, we got Kepler Sting. Invisibility while crouching. Invisible melee from behind deals 4 times damage. This could be extremely useful in areas, or if you're running understaffed throughout raids and strikes, and you need to try to get in and get out a little bit. It's absolutely pretty pointless in PvP, as the same concept as Don't Touch Me with the invisibility. However, it can be more effective considering it deals 4 times damage, but only from behind. Melee attacks cause lingering damage, so it kind of cook on you a little bit. It's probably not that big of an effect on PvP. I haven't tested or anything, but it's not like eating a solar grenade in the Crucible, like incendiary grenade or something. So honestly, I'd say it's a lower tier. Could be useful for PvE, but even not to an extreme amount. So scratch that possibly as well. Next is Sealed Ahamkara Grasp, gain an additional melee charge, and melee damage may reload primary weapon. So actually, I believe this is the one that my girlfriend Merciful Demise that I run with sometimes on my channel, including my IS Luna video. I ran doubles with her in that video, trying to convince her to make a channel. If she does, I'll post a link in on the side of my main channel, or inside of my main page of my channel. But anyways, I think she runs this so that she can have 3 throwing knives with her Goldie. She runs a complete intellect strength build on her Goldie because she loves the throwing knife. And I believe that this is what she runs to have a 3rd throwing knife, as the class gives you an additional melee charge as one of its far right abilities, giving her her 2nd one, and then her initial one obviously being her 1st. So it's a decent one. Honestly, throwing knife is good, but I, as a more competitive player, would run intellect discipline build on a Goldie, where this could be additional, or could be good for Blink Strike, as Blink Strike's a top melee, but the one thing I would consider running this would be actually for the Night Stalker to have an additional smoke grenade. Smoke is extremely useful when paired with the actual grenade from the class, but it can be effective as is. Just got to make sure you throw it first in order to complete the wombo combo. But it could be effective just having the smoke if you have 2 smokes and 1 grenade. So definitely something to consider. It's not a top tier, but it's close. Next is Shinobi's Vow. I would probably say this is the top tier exotic gauntlets, and it is improved skip grenade and gain additional skip grenade. So skip grenade is probably one of the top 3 grenades in the entire race for the hunter. It comes from the Blade Dancer class, and it is the best in the Blade Dancer class in my opinion. It tracks super fast. I can't Warlock surf away from it without getting tagged, usually to about half shields if I'm full health when I start running. And the only time I've seen people consistently get away from it is during skating. So it's very effective with its tracking mechanism, but it's also effective in how much damage output it does. And it's very commonly seen across the Crucible, and Shinobi's Vow just enables it to be more dominant. So honestly, yeah, it's definitely a top PvP oriented exotic armor piece. Probably my most preferred gauntlet. Next is Young Ahamkara Spine. It's a increased trip mine duration. I know a lot of people, you also gain an additional trip mine grenade. I know a lot of people that run Goldie that run trip mine over Incendiary Grenade that actually very much prefer this exotic piece. It's very effective, and in PvP, it can only help. So this is kind of like the Shinobi's Vow, but for the Gunslinger, for using trip mine if you prefer trip mine over Incendiary. Alright guys, that's it for the exotic gauntlets. Let's move on to the helmets. So we have, I'm going to butcher this, I promise you I will, I'm not trying. Let's see, I do want to try. Acolyte, no, it's not Acolyte, it's like Alcopage Symbiote. I literally want to know if anybody's ever pronounced that first time, without stuttering on it, without just looking at it and saying, yeah. So Golden Gun gains 1 additional shot. It's actually a pretty popular one, as Golden Gun is a very dominant super, almost a guaranteed 3 kills when you pop it. If you have this, it could be a guaranteed 4. So sometimes the only thing I would say that I don't prefer this is like if you're extremely knowledgeable about when to pop your Goldie, or if like in trials where you don't need a 4th shot, most likely. The thing is that most of the time when I've run this back for the small period of time that I ran Gunslinger, I found that I was actually wasting that shot. I was running out of my 4th shot and just like kind of shooting it off because I wasn't able to see another enemy. Maybe that's because I play at least like 80% trials, and if I wipe the round, obviously I don't need the 4th shot, but usually if you hear a Goldie, you're not engaging. So, it's hard to find 4 people out of at most a TO6 that are going to actually engage you. So it's not something that's absolutely needed, but it can be an awesome perk if it's hectic and people don't hear a Goldie, or don't have time to really run from a Goldie, and you can find a bunch of people clustered together, or in at least a decent vicinity of one another, so you can actually get all 4 shots to be useful. That's the number 1 trick with that. But other than that, it's a good perk, and a good exotic overall. Moving on, we got ATS. It's like the brother armor piece of the ATS Tarantella up here. It's the ATS Arch End, and it's the Golden Guns, rather, for the Blade Dancer, like Tarantella was. This is for the Golden Gun, and Golden Gun lasts longer, zooms in further when aimed. This is probably the top PvP oriented helmet that I would run if I was running a gunslinger, just because I would give away that fourth shot in order to have it last longer, because sometimes your golden gun just feels like Jesus when people are running. Yeah, you end up sometimes not getting enough opportunities, to get kills with it. So let's see, it lasts longer, zooms in further when aimed. That's always a good thing, because if you're like on a long range map, like, or even a mid range map or mid to long range map like Rusted Lands, and you're in that main lane near Water Tower and top B, and you're like A or top A, I think it is, A or C, and you're aiming through down courtyard, the main courtyard, you could possibly miss. But if you had this, it's going to be a pretty easy shot. So it's actually a very good perk, a very good exotic armor piece, and perks are paired with it pretty nicely. Next is Celestial Nighthawk. It is the #1 exotic armor piece for the hunter to run in PvE, as it takes down raid bosses quite well, paired with weapons of light. If you pop that Goldie after your teammate pops a bubble when you have weapons, like, you're seriously doing so much damage to these raid bosses and strike bosses. And so Celestial Nighthawk is a very top tier PvE oriented perk. It's completely useless in PvP, as you only have one shot. Who gives a damn if it does 6x damage, because it doesn't need to in PvP. Even a basic shot will kill them, just clipping them. So Celestial Nighthawk, remember guys, PvE, not at all PvP. Next is Graviton Forfeit. Back whenever I ran a Night Stalker, I was all about sweats, and so I didn't want to run any exotic armor pieces except possibly Bones of Aveo, which I'll discuss later. So I didn't run Graviton Forfeit, but Graviton Forfeit is actually a very good exotic armor piece to run, as then you will have the right side of your Night Stalker's skill tree open to select Keen Scout, being able to like heat track enemies and keep an eye of where they are when they're like behind wall. Gives you a little bit better of a chance of knowing where they are, a lot better of a chance actually than the crappy Destiny 1 radar. That can be very misleading at times. So Graviton Forfeit's actually really cool looking, as well as very useful in what it does in nature. Moving on, we got Knucklehead Radar. So Knucklehead Radar is it's actually where radar remains visible while aiming down primary weapons. So things like, I think the Mida Multi-Tool does it, the No Land Beyond, I don't think No Land Beyond does it. Mida Multi-Tool, I believe, does it though. And you're able to aim down sights while still on primary. You're still able to have your radar open while aiming down sights. A lot of the times, problems with hard scopers, the one thing that makes hard scopers not as useful is if you're sitting there hard scoping and you don't have the Jesus, can't even think of the freaking name of the sniper now. Oh my god. Oh well. There's a sniper, I will probably think of it in a second, that enables you to have your radar active while aiming down sights, and that's extremely useful. It's patience time. So patience time, you'll be able to actually go invisible and have your radar active. It makes you pretty much a hard scoper without the negative aspects of hard scoping. So this is actually something where you can run hand cannon, you can run scouts, you can run pulses, you can run auto rifles. It doesn't matter what you run, you'll always have your radar active while aiming down sights. And I mean, it's a small bit useful. It could be useful in more, probably around 6-on-6s or heated 3s, but it's not something that I would say is top tier. So with that being said, it's decent. All right, moving on, guys, to the second to last helmet. We got Mask of the Third Man. Arc blade attacks use less super energy, so it's similar to the Tarantella as far as that's recharging faster, whereas this is actually using less, so you're able to get more strikes off, and therefore more kills with your blade if you're running Mask of Third Man. In year 1, it was actually a very, very, even though I didn't play in year 1, it was a very popular exotic, and then traveling into year 2 and year 3, it has even been prominent there as well, just maybe not as much. But yeah, definitely an awesome perk to run, and the only reason I would say it probably wasn't as ran as much in year 2 and 3 is because Arc Blade's gone through quite a bit of nerfs. And then moving on, last but not least, we have Skyburner's Annex, which is chance to create orbs on heavy weapon kills with a full super. Orbs may grant special ammo. So this is a 100% PvE oriented helmet. If you run this in PvP, you're going to give off the impression automatically you have no idea what you're doing in the Crucible. It's not going to help you at all in PvP, as when you get heavy weapon kills, that comes maybe, you might get if you run a machine gun and you run it well and you run against players that are not that good, you might get at most 6 or 7 kills a game with heavy, and that's like on your best games. Most of the time, you might get a couple kills a game with heavy, and that's not even worth really considering running this armor piece, as you are giving up so much by not running some of the others. So, but in PvE, this could be very, very effective, as you can get more heavy weapons, you got heavy ammo sense you can pop, and you can just chain supers and just be dominant. Alright guys, moving in, the 3 cloaks are just the ones for the different factions: New Monarchy, Dead Orbit, and Future War Cult. They're just going to gain reputation gains. They're just going to increase your reputation gains you get. And the only cool thing about the cloaks, as I've said in the Warlock video with the bonds, is that you're able to pair them with another exotic. They don't count as your one only exotic. Other than that, they're nothing that you really need to super sweat for, as I believe that you have to go through the exotic quest after getting to level 25 in each faction to even achieve them, I believe. I might be wrong. But anyways, so they're decent, but they're not that great. Next, moving on, probably my most favorite exotic in the entire exotic skill or exotic set for the hunter is Bones of Aveo. It makes you faster because you can use better control or better direction for the hunter's actual skill tree, and then pair this to get your double jump with the additional jump. So you'll have your double jump with better direction. Pairing this makes you have triple jump, so you basically can just jump all over the place just with 3 jumps with Bones of Aveo. And honestly, I feel like you get around the map a lot faster. It's probably the fastest mechanism for getting a hunter to gain speed and in distance, long distance. So getting them from point A to point B the quickest, Bones of Aveo is the number 1 way to do that. So it's an awesome perk, and it can be used against across all 3 subclasses. Anyways, guys, the Frosty E5s, while sprinting, gain tighter turn radius and faster grenade melee regeneration. So it's a solid one. Honestly, it's a lot more popular than I would think it would be after reading the description. A lot of players actually like it. I guess it's kind of like Pulse Wave procking for my Storm. It makes you faster while sprinting in tighter turn radius. And you also get your grenade melees back quicker. So it could be useful, but I would even prefer Bones over it. Just straight out. So I'm not exactly sure why it's so popular, but take it as you wish. Maybe you're one that really loves it. Moving on, guys, to the last leg armor piece, which is Radiant Dance Machines. You'll move quicker while aiming your weapon. This could be very useful for strafing, being harder to hit. A strafe is just going left to right, changing up the direction, not going straight left, or left, right, left, right, left, right, left, right, left, right. Changing it up a little bit, making your opponent have a more difficult time hitting his or her shots. That could be actually increased. The difficulty could be increased if you run Radiant Dance Machines. But honestly, it's not one of those things where it's super top tier perk, as I don't see a lot of top tier players running it. And that's top tier players who care most about their strafes. So anyways, we got Crest of Alpalupi for the chest piece, moving in the chest piece. So I actually hope, nope, that's it. Right? Yeah, because up here's the chest pieces. Yep. Okay, so this starts year 1 stuff. I was about to say, I thought we did Crest. So, yep. So that's actually the end of the video for the Hunters Exotics. Probably going through, just giving a quick recap. If I were to run a chest, I would run Crest. If I was to run Gauntlets, I would either run Shanuba's Vow or Silda Hamakar's Grasp, because I don't run Trip Mine on my Goldie. If I did, I'd run Young Akamar's Spine. But I honestly wouldn't run, because I don't run a Blade Dancer or a Goldie, I wouldn't run any of the gauntlets. But if you do, then obviously take my suggestion there if you wish. Helmet-wise, I would run definitely Celestial Nighthawk for PvE, and I would run Graviton Forfeit for PvP. Skyburner's Annex is also a great choice for PvE if you don't run Goldie. And then Bones. So my most favorite exotic out of all of them is easily the Bones of Aveo. It's really all I seek out besides Graviton Forfeit, because I main a Night Stalker whenever I do run Hunter. Alright guys, well, thank you for watching as always. Please like, share, and subscribe. And this was the second part of our 3-part series discussing my suggestions on exotic armor in Destiny. Alright guys, thank you for watching, and I'll catch you next video.